So here's a quick video on how to replace your Kia starter. One of the things I forgot to mention was that you'll be removing the bottom bolt of the starter from the underneath the car, and then the other bolt is easier to access from the top. But watch this video a few times and just be sure you know what you're doing, and the job should take about half an hour. It's 2 bolts in, 2 bolts out, pretty easy, and take a cautionary note to the pieces I broke along the way. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below.
So first off, let's start out with finding out where your starter is. So I'm lying underneath the car, as you can see by the radiator in the front. There's your catalytic converter for some reference. There's your CV joint. You kind of got to get it between. I have my light in there so that I can see what's going on. You kind of got to get in between, and bam, there's your starter. On your right, you'll see where your wires are that you need to disconnect. And on your left will be where the bolts are that you need to disconnect. There will be 2 bolts that you need to pull apart. It's easiest done from the bottom, and then one from the bottom, one from the top. Now looking at the top, what I've done is I've completely removed my air box. Makes things way easier to work with. You will have to keep in mind that there is going to be a couple of cables that you're going to need to remove. That bolt that I just pointed to will also have to be undone so that you can get better access to the bolts down below. And there's the starter. You can barely see it, but basically this harness has to come out in order to pull out your starter. I think it's a 12mm socket. The flex neck made it way easier to do this. I don't even know how you would do it without a flex neck and an extension. So here are the cables that I was talking about. They're your throttle cables, and so they'll just be a small cotter pin holding them in, and they'll pop right up, and then you can just move them off to the side. You're gonna have to be pretty aggressive about moving them off to the side and out of your way. So here are the starters when I've pulled them out. You'll notice that this one connector, the silver piece with a hole in the middle, when you're trying to pull off that wire, you're actually going to have to push a little pin out of the way that's in there. So don't try and yank it off. It's almost like a little ball socket that's keeping it in there. If you try and yank it off, bad things will happen and you'll hate yourself. So that's why I put such emphasis on it. Basically, you gotta try and get to one side and push it off. Once you put it back on, it'll click right back into place. Here's my replacement one. It didn't have a 90 degree. It was a little harder to get the part on. Here, I'm not even too sure what this part is for, but as a cautionary note, I snapped it off when I was doing all of this work. I think it has to do with my oil pressure or my oil temperature, if I can judge where it was. And there was a really simple clip that actually kept it in place. And you'll definitely snap it if you're not paying attention. This is the clip that I'm talking about. It'll just pull off and then the entire sensor will pull out. So trying to operate the camera and show you where the clip is. But this is where the clip goes in. It'll be on the firewall side. I haven't seen any lights go off yet for on my dash, so I don't think it's anything mission critical. So this is just to show you quickly how you're going to have to go about ramming the starter back in and out. It's through in between your exhaust and your CV joint. It will go back in. It's just really has to go in a very specific way. As you can see, the starter against the transmission, and then the solenoid is kind of creeping up against the exhaust, but this would be the easiest way to show that it goes back in, and it doesn't require a whole lot of effort. It's just really awkward.